I got some news for you guys coming straight from the MTA. So starting probably late 2026, you know how the bus has cameras? They're not only to watch you guys do any violent stuff. They are also there to do face recognition, right? So if you don't pay, your face is getting caught into the database where now it's going through a system where they're going to find out who you are. And when they do, they're going to send you a fine in the mail. Just like what they do with the cars that are parked on the bus lane. Just the same way. And you will be faced with probably $100 to $200 fine. And if you continue, which again, facial recognition is gonna come up again where they're gonna say, okay, the first time this person did it, this is the second time, this is the third time. So you will be going to court. And the judge is gonna determine if you're gonna be locked up for a month, 2 months, a year, whatever it is. But that's coming. So for y'all that hate,
Like to say, Pauline La Yahweh Shema Shah Bashem Kakadash, the bonus of Pastor Ellsworth Millstone, peace, I teach you full luck. And wow, it just goes to show you how much of a devil Esau is. Because if this ain't the devil, man, I don't know what the fuck to say at this point, or what the fuck to categorize him as. He sure is wicked, I'll tell you that. And just to show you why, these motherfuckers is just like, they gotta be taken out of power. I mean, because it's like, you just do so much to just put like so much affliction on the poor, and then it's like you, every time when you seems like you're doing something for, let's say, the community, it's like a flip side to how you're trying to be a devil at the same time. He claimed that, we need more cameras out here for more surveillance, more crimes and all this nonsense, when they're the ones who actually, fund the criminals, when they have like a organization that brings the drugs in the communities and fund the gangsters in the street corners, and then eventually you take them down, and then you recycle the same drugs and the same guns in the communities just to do it all over again. To act like you trying to bring a solution to the problem that you've already created. Now it's like you trying to just have facial recognition technology to identify who's particularly entering the bus without paying for the fare, and that could probably interfere with the fact that bus drivers, there's a time where they let people on the bus in the let's say they let you go, you tell them in the front, like, that you don't have, for the fare or whatever the case is, and some of them just let you go. And they probably could get in trouble too now, with the fact that how this devil Esau is just putting facial recognition cameras in the bus. And for the people that like to enter the back of the bus, there's a thing that some people will do, is they will just try to slip their hand through, or they'll wait for somebody to exit from the back just so that they can slip in the back of the bus without paying. And it's been going on like that, like, since the C-19 or so. But yeah, that is going to be pretty much a thing that's going to be in the past at this point, because it's like they're trying to really make sure they investing in technology to oppress people, because they claim that they got to cut down on the fare evasion, and they're trying to tackle on that issue so that they could make more money for the MTA. But anyways, let me bring up some scripture, and Lord will make this lesson edifying. So now it says in Psalm chapter 10 verse, start at verse 8. He sitteth in the lurking places, of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. Yep. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. And that's how Esau is, man. But of course, like, he's gonna make himself seem like he's humbly trying to do the best for this community, when in fact he's just trying to be the devil, doing things that he can in the best way that may seem like it's for everyone. But like scripture said, this is the man that speaks with the a forward speech, and that he speaks with a double tongue. And this is Proverbs chapter 28 verse 15. It says, as a roaring lion and a raging bear, so is the wicked ruler over the poor people. Alright. And that's something that we understand through the spirit, is that this devil Esau is just wicked. He tries to find ways that he can oppress people. And if people don't want to pay a fare that's like, I think the fare is like probably $3 or so. And if people can't seem to not pay it for that particular day, what makes you think they're gonna have the funds to pay $100? And then it's like, this devil wants to even decide, like from the man was saying in the video, to put you in prison just for fare evasion. And then now it's like, what happens if they just decide to fire you from your job? Because you was out for so long, being in prison for like a month. It's crazy work, bro. But you see, one thing is, like, they will invest in so much to oppress the people, just like how they do with the speed tickets, the speed cameras out there, so they could see you rack a certain amount of tickets, so that they could just tow your car from you. And then you have to, if you don't pay that fee after they tow your vehicle, then they just pretty much auction your vehicle at some point. You see, that's how wicked this devil is, man. I remember that shit happened to me fucking twice. And then it just shows you that how, it's just best to just fucking pay what you owe, and make sure you in good standings with this devil, and make sure that you always following the laws of the land, and don't try to, do anything out there that could get you those type of tickets. And if you happen to just get one, just pay it immediately, because it ain't even worth it. So just say the earth is mourning because of this devil. Scripture said, when a wicked rule, the people mourn, and when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. And that's something that we realize, is that this earth is really just mourning. Everyone is complaining because of the cost of living. It's to the point where they saying that even people have to pretty much cut down on certain things that they used to do, because how the cost of living is just so damn expensive. And then even just to get like the bus tickets and all that shit, like the Omni cards, getting the bus fares as expensive as it already is. And there's studies showing that people can't even afford to to pay for their car. Like, their car note is too expensive. And then they wonder why there's an increase in things such as like friendly fraud, which is people disputing transactions that were actually intentionally made, but it's like they just don't have enough money to be able to afford to pay for other bills that is accumulating on them, or that, and then they sometimes can't even afford to to put food on the table, or to actually fix their vehicle, issues that are at hand that need to be taken care of at the moment. And it's like, sometimes they have kids and they have other issues that they have to pay for, and it's like they're not getting paid enough. That these jobs just don't seem to provide a livable wage. And then it's like you have so much debts that you have to pay for, especially when you pretty much went to school, went to college. You have, like, let's say, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or so. And if you have any other graduate degrees or so, that's even worse, because that's more debt you have to pay. And then when it's coming to these loan companies, they want their money, immediately after you graduate or so. So they really want to make the most out of you, But a society that just builds you to to the roof and just expect you to just pay for everything around you, paying for the bus fare, paying for just all these other expenses that pretty much are raising the prices. Like, it's insane. And let me make this last precept, because I don't want to make this lesson too long. It says Revelation 13 verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And that's pretty much going into how Esau is, in a sense, his characteristics, where he sounds like he's saying something for the greater good, but realistically, speaking like a dragon, like he comes down, with some hard ass draconian laws. It's just like how they say, when you're innocent to proven guilty, and in fact it's actually the other way around, that you're guilty till you're proven innocent. And just a lot of trickery behind his words. And then it's like, in the times to come, he's going to become more draconic. He's going to limit freedom of speech, claim that to protect anti-Semitic, to fight against anti-Semitism, protecting the small hats or whatever. So he's going to try to make it seem like whatever he's, fighting for and trying to fight against, he's going to make it seem like it's actually for a greater cause. But it realistically is just meant to be more of an oppressor, meant to offend the men of the Lord, ultimately, this thing. And as the scripture said, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. So I really already know what he's planning on doing with all of this shit. And the facial recognition cameras, that's just like a beginning stage before he introduces MOTB, and ultimately that's where all roads lead to, of course. But before he introduced the 15-minute cities and all that shit, because he wants the system to have it to where everybody's on the radar, everybody's pretty much identified and everything. Like scriptures say that this man, he pretty much he strives to be like the Most High. And he's trying to go as far as doing that by way of technology. That's why he wants to put a chip in everyone, so he can have everyone on a database and track everything. Yep. So everything could be tracked, everything could be pretty much in his system, and at that point you wouldn't even want to live anymore. But with that, hope may let's edify. Let's give all glory, praise, honor to Adonai Yahweh, Ba'ashem Shah Malak Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honor to Apostle Elsbrand Milson, Peter Teaching on full Shalom.